Hi, everybody, and welcome to the War Room. I'm Jason Wilson. This channel was built for people in the real estate industry that want to have a career in real estate and make money doing it. We're going to be starting our series on mindset and how you think. We're going to be today diving into how what you believe in your heart will affect your results in business. There's a reason that 85% of all people who get into the real estate game, especially as a real estate agent, fail. And either in the first year or the first 5 years, the stats are kind of all over the place, but it's well over 80% don't even make it past that 5-year mark. And very few actually make it past the first year mark, but those are the two big hurdles. Why is that? Well, there's a myriad of reasons why that can actually be a reality. And some of it is simply because they get into the industry with an idea in their mind of what they are going to be able to do. And not that that's not accurate, but so many times I hear people come in and say, well, it's going to be, I'm going to have more freedom, I'm going to do less work, and I'm going to make more money. And although that can work, the reality is you have to come in and put in 100% effort to get this thing moving in order for you to be able to make money. It's not real to just simply say that you're going to, now I was working a 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, and now I'm going to go ahead and really move towards an 8 to 11 a.m. and go to a 6-figure income without some effort. So that first piece and component is going to be expectations. What did you expect when coming into the business? After we get past expectations, reality sets in. Once you have reality set in, now it becomes the question of, okay, I expected this. I now understand that this is what the business is, and I'm either totally excited and find this to be really easy and I'm killing it, or I go the way of the majority of the people where I realize, oh my goodness, this is hard work. I have to talk to people. This is the part of the business I did not want to do. How am I going to get out of this, or how can I be successful? And so that's where reality comes in, is the question of whether you want to make the path forward or not. Okay, so let's pause for just a second. We've talked about the false expectations. Now we've gotten into, here's reality. Reality is this is a people business, and lead generation is a constant must. If you've just came to that reality that posting on Facebook and wearing a name tag and standing next to people isn't going to make business manifest, and even if it does, it's not going to do it for long. You've come to that reality. Now you're faced with the possibility of, do I want to do this? That's a fair question. If you decide that talking to people is worse than getting your teeth drilled without Novocaine, then perhaps that is the clue that this may not be the business for you. But if you believe you're in the right place and you want to be in this business, but you're just panicked because you don't know how to do it, we now have to address the mindset issue, which brings us to today's topic. So here's what you need to know. The human heart is like an incubator. It produces a crop, a fruit, based on what is planted inside of it. No matter what you want it to be, whatever you plant, it will produce. So think of it from an aspect of like a farmer. So a farmer goes out and sows seed in the ground, right? So he's gonna plow the ground. He's gonna lay seeds of, let's say, corn. So he puts down corn, and it's during the rainy season, so it rains plenty. He doesn't even have to water it. The rains were plentiful, and so what comes out of the ground is corn. He doesn't come back and go, well, I wanted cotton. And even if he did want cotton, no matter how badly he wanted cotton, what he planted was corn. And so therefore, what he gets is corn. Now, there's a lot that happens between planting and harvesting that can affect how much corn, or the weather and a drought, whether or not you get just a small amount of crops or a lot of crops. Those are all things, but we're going to set that to the side. If you plant corn, you cannot expect cotton. That is the bottom line. So let's talk about the seeds that we plant in our heart. And this is how our belief systems are formed, because our belief systems are going to be the crux of what you're able to pull off. So I'm going to take this from a biblical perspective. Many of you that know me know that I oftentimes will use a lot of scripture because I believe it's applicable in life. This can be applied pretty much anywhere across the board of your personal life. It definitely will apply in your business life. So let's just kind of get into it. So I'm going to talk about Matthew 13. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up on the screen. Okay, so this is what's known as the parable of the sower. I will call it the parable of the soils, right? Because the soil is your heart. What you put in your heart will produce a crop. So let's go ahead and read this. The same day Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it, while all the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, a farmer went out to sow seed. As he scattered seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly, but because the soil was shallow, but when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seeds fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seeds fell on good soil, where it produced a crop, 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. For whoever has ears, let him hear. The disciples came to him and said, why do you speak in parables to these people? He replied, because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. Whoever has will be given more, and they that, go ahead and edit this out, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. This is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing they do not see, though hearing they do not hear, cut that and do it again. Though seeing they do not see, though hearing they do not hear or understand. In them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You will be ever hearing, but never understanding. You will be ever seeing, but never perceiving. For the people's heart has become calloused. It is hard. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would heal them. Okay, so that's a lot to unpack on there. I'm actually going to do it backwards. So that second set of scripture where we were verses 14 to 16, he talks about the prophecy in Isaiah where people just, the truth is spoken to them and it goes over their head or they don't understand, which frankly, I think we're living in a very interesting time in history where the idea of my truth has become the predominant thing, that the truth has become adjustable, which I'm not a big fan of. I think the truth is the truth all day long. So what this is talking about is if they could see and understood, they'd be able to change and find the result. So let's go back up to that top section and talk about the soils. Have you ever wondered why in certain areas of your life, like you can go do things and it's fairly simple for you? In fact, you might even exercise a high level of success in those other areas, and it is with minimal effort. Where somebody else who desires to be as good as you are in an area looks at you and goes, "You're really good. I wish I were as good as you." And you're like, well, this just is either easy or I put in the time and effort to learn it. Well, in other areas, you seem to struggle. And that all has to do with the belief systems. And so when we talk about the parable of the soils, one of the things that comes up the most in this particular iteration is that scripture is used about receiving the gospel and salvation. And although that is a perfect application of that, and I agree with it, it is not the only application. What it is showing us how the heart works, right? And so when we're talking about that, let's go through some avenues. My wife grew up as a pastor's kid, and they were ministers, and oftentimes in ministry circles, I'm not saying in theirs, but oftentimes in ministry circles, people misquote a particular scripture that says money is the root of all evil, when the scripture actually says the love of money is the root of all evil. So when you believe that, it assigns the poverty is next to godliness. And as they're on their spiritual journey, she grew up in a very, very poor household. Now, I'm not going to speak for her parents and say that that's what they believed, but the point stands. Because of their belief systems around money, what ends up happening is they don't have enough, and that is the fruit that goes into their heart, because they go, oh, in order for me to be spiritual, I don't have money. Money doesn't come to us. It's a war for money. And so that's the thought, the seed that goes in the heart, and it produces that fruit over and over and over again. Yet other people seem to go out and create money relatively easy. And this is going to set aside the love of money being the root of all evil. So pursuing finances is not evil because it's provision. So if you're going to talk about provision for the vision, if you have a vision in your life, you're going to need revenue to be able to make that work. So that's a key component. Nobody just gets this in a vacuum and is able to make stuff work. So what happens is, in the different areas of your life, you can equate this as follows. When you hear a message, the message can be about money. It can be about, let's make it about playing guitar. So somebody comes along and says, you can play guitar and be a rock star and do this just as good as insert name of your favorite musical hero right there, right? So they come and they sling the seed all over the place. And perhaps you picked up a guitar when you were 12 years old and you played it and it sounded horrible and it was frustrating and you couldn't figure out how to move forward. So for you, this time when somebody comes around and goes, hey, I have this class, I can make you into the best guitar player ever. For you, that seed gets slung and it falls on your heart on rocky ground. All right, so on the path where the birds come and just simply snag that up and it doesn't produce anything, you're like, yeah, not me. I have short, fat fingers. I am not a guitar player. I tried. It was embarrassing. I would absolutely love it, but some people are born with talent, others aren't. All right, so maybe that's you. Or maybe you're the one where it fell along, the rocky ground was number 2, where there was some soil, but not a lot. So immediately it took root. You go out and you buy a guitar, like maybe one of these ones behind me. And then you start learning the basic chords, G, C, D. And you can start to kind of identify a song. So G, C, and D are basically, you can do a lot of songs. Let's just say you were doing Wanted Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi, right? So you've got most of the chords in there. There's an F in there, but it doesn't matter. So G, C, and D is the majority of that song. So you now have this and you can start doing it. But then you don't have the time to put the discipline in. And so you practice, once every couple of weeks, those 3 chords. You get together with some people who have been practicing a whole lot more, and all of a sudden they can do it way better, and you realize that even though you felt like you were getting good, you're not nearly as good as they are. You put it down and you're like, okay, I thought I could do this. Now that the pressure is on, there is a live performance where I have to get up in front of people and do this, and Billy and Jim can do this way better than me, so I'm just not going to go ahead and do this. Now you've fallen along that rocky ground. Where most of us exist is in the third soil. All right, so where you get that idea of a guitar playing, a dream come true, and it falls into the ground, and you want to believe it. It's a good thing. I have the faith to believe that I can build a skill around this. And what ends up happening is, while that fruit is growing, there are thorns that grow around it and start to choke it out. So you practice. You play. Let's say you go do that first show. You're slightly embarrassed because you're not as good, but you keep trying to grind it out. Now it's in the battle for whether the thorns are going to win or whether the fruit is going to make it through. So this is the battle where you basically have to show up each day. So in real estate, what that looks like is you get into the business, you learn the basics. You start calling people and talking to them. You talk to 5 different people a day. Then you start talking to 10 a day, and then you get up to 20 a day. And so many people are saying, I don't know anybody who's looking to buy or sell. And then one of your friends ends up buying or selling with somebody else, and you feel crushed, right? These are the thorns. And how you react, how you go about this is going to be that next thing. Now, there's the good soil when it goes in and it produces a fruit. And this one, I believe it says it was 160 and then 30 times what was sown. So a small seed goes in the ground and all of a sudden it produces deal after deal after deal after deal. So that's an entirely different situation. So this is the one where we've cleared all of the thorns that are in the soil, and you've gone to the point it's like, hey, he said, if I talk to 100 people a week, there's going to be 2 opportunities. I get better at my skills. It'll be a minute, but I'm going to grind at this time after time after time until we land on deals. And then you start doing deals, and then it just becomes easy, right? Now we're going to go back to the guitar player analogy. If you played the song live in front of people 100 times, when you get an opportunity that says, hey, we'd like you to play this live in front of, instead of 100 people, thousands of people, you've been there. You've been doing it. You've seen yourself going there. This has been part of the goal. And now playing it is easy, and it's tighter, it's better, and it actually came through discipline, not by you just having natural talent. So where you are in your life, if you wish to examine those things, you can look at the different soils and find where some fall along the path, some fall among the rocks, some fall amongst the thorny soil, and some fall on good soil. And if you want to know what you believe, listen to yourself when you get under pressure. When you have a freak out moment, whatever insane thing that comes out of your mouth is likely what you believe about the situation. Now, what you'll probably say is, I'm sorry, I was having a moment. That's not really what I believe. Now that I'm calm and in my right mind. Well, the reality is out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if there's an abundance of, I can't do this, I suck at this can't be done, this is too hard, whatever comes out of your mouth, go, aha, I just heard myself. Take out a pen, write it down and say, this is what I said. And then ask yourself the question, okay, now that I'm calm, I don't think I believe that. That was crazy talk. Agreed. But let's pretend for a second. If I said, everything is hard for me in real estate, I watch stupid people make money at this while I struggle and have to deal with complex issues. So maybe that's true, maybe it's not, maybe that's been my experience, but I write it down. Then I have to say to myself, why do I believe this is true? And then I can come to the conclusion at some point of maybe something happened in my life that made me believe something about myself or about the job in real estate that taught me that that was the reality. Then I can go the next step and say, okay, well, for the people that it's easy for, why don't I ask them what they're doing? What you're going to find is several things. One, just because they're doing it and make it look easy doesn't mean they're not grinding on the work. You might talk to them and say, yeah, they're like, I talk to 200 people a week in order to get this kind of business. And you're like, oh, dang, well, I guess they're just doing 10 times the work I am. That's why they have the results. You might find out that it was hard in the beginning, but as they got momentum, the train was, it was a lot easier to keep it moving, and it's a success over time, just like practicing G, C, and D over and over again until it sounds like a song rather than pieces of a song broken apart with no rhythm. So this is what really gets you into that frame of mind. And so the question is this: if you want a career in real estate, are you succeeding? If you're not, what is it you believe about the industry and what it takes to succeed? And what is it you believe about yourself in that role that has you held back? Here's a couple questions to look at. What do I believe about this business, whatever the business is? Number 2, what do I believe about myself being successful in said business? 3, what concerns do I have about doing the business and why do I have them? The reason I bring up concerns is because if you're going to talk about concerns overall, what you're thinking there is you're going, okay, I don't know what the problem is, right? I'm not sure if I even have any negative beliefs around this. I might, but I can fish them out by saying, what are my concerns? My concerns are that I'm not going to be able to stick to it and make the calls that I need to make to connect with the people I need to connect with. Okay, why? Well, because I hate making calls. Okay, why do you hate making calls? Well, because I don't like being rejected. Well, nobody does. But if you got used to, having conversations where it's not rejection, but it might just be that they don't have anybody or it's a no, and then you end up finding somebody that it's a yes and it's very rewarding and you find it fulfilling, then you find yourself in a career, right? So, just take a look at that. And then the fourth question is, what am I willing to fight my way through to see a result that I want? This is going to be one of the biggest things, because once you plant the seed, then you have to get to the harvest, right? You don't just go dig a hole in the ground, throw a seed, put some dirt on it, go to sleep, get up, and have a plant. There's a process. There's a time frame. It takes some moments to be able to make that a reality. And so the fighting through it is going to be the process. Nobody skips process. Now, how much suffering and how long it takes in the process is entirely dependent on whether or not you're willing to dig into your own heart, find out what you believe about it, deal with the situation. There are only two types of seed, and this is what I will leave you with. There is fear and there is faith. That's it. These are it. These are the two, fear and faith. And if you plant fear in there as well, what if I can't do this? What if negative this? What if that? Then you will grow a crop, that you'll grow the thorns. If you plant in there that I believe I can do this, and for me, that faith comes out of Scripture. What does the Word say about who I am and what I can do? Is what I'm putting my time and energy into part of the vision that I have to fulfill, and what provision do I need to fulfill that vision? And if I can believe, Father, that He can help me through those things and help me overcome my shortcomings, then I've taken His promises in the Word, which is faith, planted those in my heart, and water them, and then fight for them when all the circumstances come up and I get presented with, hey, look, you failed at this. You're no good at this. This isn't for you. And then I have to address that and say, okay, that may be true in this moment, but it is not true overall, because, and then you have to address the issue. For me, I address it with Scripture. For greater He who is in me than he who is in the world. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. And I have to stick to the vision. Does that mean that everything works for me and I get it all right? Absolutely not. Does it mean that even though I know this, that I don't struggle emotionally with my own shortcomings and have thorns in the ground or have rocks? Absolutely I do. Nobody is just able to just navigate beyond this very simply. The reality is it takes time. And when you become convinced that it just works, it becomes easier. And think of it like this. How much faith and turmoil do you have to have that when you walk into your house and you flip the switch on the wall, that the lights are going to come on? Are you in there going, oh my gosh, I hope this works? Like, oh my God, oh wait, there's no light. Is it like this? I'm never going to do this. I'm going to have to go live in a cave in the dark because I can't get light to work. Or you're just like, no, I don't even think about it. Like, I just flipped the switch and the light works. If it didn't work, I would be shocked. When you can believe that way about the business you're in, is going, I do these things, it always produces a result. If it didn't, I'd be shocked. Now you're in a place of actual faith at a high level. You're onto that fourth clean soil where it can produce a harvest. And from there, you can have all the provision for the vision so that you can fulfill whatever it is in life, your reason for being here. I hope this was helpful. This strategy is the foundation to building a proper war room for yourself, so that the other strategies that you put into making your real estate business pay out huge dividends are sitting on top of something that can weather the storms that will come. I hope you found it helpful. Thanks so much. If you have a comment, give us a comment below. We'd love to hear from you, and consider giving us a thumbs up and a subscribe to help the channel out. I appreciate you guys. Hope to talk soon.